welcome to my channel, Haylee Marie Vintage. Today I am taking you on a trip to Minnesota with me. So this summer, my friends and I's trip destination was to go to Minneapolis/St. Paul, Minnesota. And in this video, we'll go to the state fair, which has been one of my, I don't want to say lifelong dreams, but everybody from Minnesota talks so much about the state fair. And I've had a lot of friends from Minnesota over the years, so it's always been on my list to go. So I was super excited to get to go to that. It's also a really fantastic fabric shop in Minneapolis I was excited to go to, and I also did a lot of relaxing by the lake, so I'm going to take you along for that whole journey, and then after I'll show you what I picked up thrifting and at the fabric shop. So with that, we're going to hop straight into footage. So right before we got to the airport, there was a cyber attack at SeaTac, which is the airport near me, so everything was handwritten on boards like this. It was pretty wild. And in case you've ever wondered what I do on a plane, the first 45-ish minutes I try to disassociate from my body and pretend I'm not on a plane. But when that doesn't work, I ultimately settle down and start editing videos. And once we landed, we decided to terrorize the local airport robot.
Please move aside.
It was kind of funny. At one point, it got stuck in the gate and kept yelling at people as they got off the plane and in its way. And since we got in late last night, we didn't do any sort of exploring. We just went to bed. But this morning, we are headed to the state fair, which was one of our goals for going this time of year to Minneapolis. We parked in one of the not official parking lots. They do have official parking lots, but we got here at 10, so we were much too late to get in or find parking at those official spots. After that, our first quest was for coffee, and this was the first place we found that carried coffee. And my first snack at the Minnesota State Fair was this pickle dog, which was a pickle with cream cheese wrapped in pastrami. I was intrigued by the hot dish on a stick, but didn't end up getting any. We forgot about it by the time I got other food. But we then got into the horse area, and we got to pet some horses. This one was really nice. All the horses were a little skittish, which I don't blame them. This seems like a fairly stressful experience for a horse, and horses are, in my opinion, kind of skittish animals. They aren't necessarily crowd happy animals, although I don't know that I can think of an animal that is happy in a crowd. We then got to pet some alpacas. We were lucky and all the alpacas were out and about, and they're so soft and so cute, and their eyes and head are so big for their skinny little necks.
What is Goose's friend's name?
Goose? Maverick.
Yeah, you did.
You're very cute. We also got to see some demos of the students brushing their alpacas. This alpaca did not seem to be the biggest fan of brushing, but we found out we were there in time for an alpaca event.
I just love how they
Look at them go!
Gosh, look at all of them!
So we followed the alpacas out to an obstacle course that they were going to do. It was so funny walking behind the alpacas because they're just kind of funny animals. For the alpaca obstacle event, this one did really well, but it seemed like a lot of them didn't like the stairs. And I thought them bending their necks and hunching over like this to go under this was so funny. But look at how proud that alpaca is and how fluffy it is. I also want you to see the one that's kind of cut like a poodle back here. So funny looking and so cute. I then got my second snack, which was a sausage on a stick wrapped in a waffle. A+. Loved it. Here is some quick footage just showing how crowded, aka not crowded it is. We were actually here on the second least busy day of the fair this year, which was really, really nice. I thought the lines were really short and it was way less busy than we expected. Next snack was some sweet tea. I am a huge fan of sweet tea and it's really hard to find in Seattle, so when I saw a sweet tea booth, I was like, yes, sign me up. Plus it came with a cute cup with a handle. We walked by Martha's Cookies, which is one of the biggest stands in this. We did not get any Martha's Cookies, however, because we knew that my friend's mom had some cookie dough to bake at home, and honestly, those were delicious, so I didn't mind that at all. Also, there were vegan corn dogs, which were really cool. Apparently, they were good as well. My friend let me sample this grilled peach with Greek yogurt. It was so good, and something a little bit more fresh to eat at the fair. We then headed to the agriculture building. First, we saw the Christmas tree display, and there were also these flower kaleidoscope things that were pretty cool. But we mainly went in here to admire the crop art, which Minnesota State Fair is really known for. This area was pretty crowded and honestly really impressive. So I didn't quite understand all the categories for these, which is fine because I just wanted to look at them. It was clear that everything was kind of grouped into their own section of their competitors. One of the reasons I learned about crop art was actually TikTok last year when there was a controversy around the use of mustard seeds, because my understanding is the seeds used in these must come from agriculture in Minnesota, and mustard, I guess, is contentious on that. I love how every niche community has its own niche like drama. I always think that's really fun. The crop art included a lot of different like subjects, from political to just kind of goofy or pop culture or fun, and I think that's always a really neat thing about art, especially art kind of created more communally and less like highbrow art. And I say that as a huge compliment, and as somebody who, as a craftsperson, is also not that like highbrow art situation. That's something I really enjoy about state fairs, is that it's an opportunity to see art made by like your average people, instead of like when you go to galleries and you see things by like whatever type of artist, right? And I loved how many just like Minnesota joke and Minnesota humor and Minnesota themed things were. There were lots of course, loons. I loved the loon laser beaming a corn dog. I thought that was so fun. These I think are all natural color ones. They also had some fun interactive things on like feeling how different types of seeds feel, which was fun. And they had a whole section devoted to like beehives and honey, and I thought that was really cool. And then I really enjoyed the floral displays that they had. A lot of these were really creative and fun. They were supposed to be inspired by a song or, you know, some type of music. And there was just a lot of creativity in these floral arrangements, and I really enjoyed that. And it seemed like a lot of people competed. And as somebody who doesn't really arrange flowers as a hobby, but sort of does, it was always fun to see like what other people create with similar hobbies to you. This is definitely very different than my skill set. I'm just a normal vase arranger, and a lot of these were well above and beyond vases and just looked so cool. It was here that I got another snack, which was like a apple cider otter pop. This wasn't quite my jam, but I wanted to try it. We then went and saw the largest pumpkins for that competition, and it was very impressive. I don't think I've ever seen pumpkins this big. There were also like largest squash, and then other entries and competitions and things, which I always love seeing all the different types of varieties of veggies you can grow, so this was very fun. And then we went to grab more food. I didn't end up getting cheese curds, but I thought the display was pretty cute. This is kind of like the main food building, and after that we needed to sit and just kind of take a chill pill. So we went to the arena where they do different competitions and watched what was going on there. This was some sort of horse competition where they were having them like not gallop at different speeds, but walk at different speeds and do different types of walking. It was really fun. There was a horse there named Haylee, and my friend got yelled at by the announcer because they cheered really loud when Haylee the horse came out, and you are apparently not supposed to do that, which makes sense because, as previously discussed, horses are kind of anxious, flighty creatures, so it tracks that there is no applause. But it was a really funny moment because the announcer was not having it, and my friend didn't know any better, which, to be fair, none of us knew any better. But it was fun to see the outfits and see all the really pretty horses. We also got to watch a very unique miniature horse barrel racing. So that is a child and that is a full-grown horse. I didn't know horses came that tiny. I guess this was a new, very niche category, but look at how tiny that horse is. And these barrels are not very big either. It was so cute. I've never seen a horse so tiny. We then swung by the dairy building to see the butter princesses get carved. These are very impressive. I have done some carving myself, not butter, but stone. Carving's really challenging artistically, so I think this is a really cool tradition. And here we are in the like arts and crafts area. This is like more home sewing or home stuff. In this one, they do have a fine arts building, but I am really partial towards this when I go to state fairs. I'm really excited to see what people are crafting and making because there aren't a ton of opportunities to see displays like these that are really just devoted to people who are crafters, especially amateur crafters, and it's something I think is so cool about the state fair. My goal is eventually to compete at my own state fair and maybe win some ribbons in my lifetime. We'll see if I end up up doing it. I always forget about it until the state fair is like happening. But one year I will compete, and I'm excited for it because there's so many different categories, and I've just always really appreciated being able to see crafts and things that you only usually see if you are in someone's home on display like these. There are some really, really talented artisans. I love this quilt with the clothes hanging on it. That is totally a quilt I would enjoy having and making. This definitely was really inspiring for me and made me want to try about 20 gajillion new hobbies, which I have no business doing. So I'm going to keep it reined in, but there were a lot of really cool things. And I did finally make it to the garment sewing area. It's always interesting to see what people submit. And definitely there are a lot more people who have submitted to these displays in Minnesota than I've noticed at like the Washington State Fair. I would still really like to enter the Washington State Fair and compete and just be kind of a part of having crafts on display that honestly mainly women do in their homes and don't get a lot of credit for. I think it's really, really cool. And I really enjoyed seeing what other people's create, and I would, really like to compete in the future myself. I will not show you the inside of the bathroom, but I will say there is a bathroom in this building, and it is the oldest on the state fairgrounds, and it feels like the oldest. It's also very small. If you need to use the bathroom, don't use the one in the arts and crafts building. I will say the person doing the cleaning and making sure the bathroom stayed nice was doing a very, very good job, but the bathroom is very, very old here. The hot tip, I guess, I would not use the bathroom in this hall. I would wait until you're to one of the bigger restrooms anywhere else on the fairgrounds. I also always think these baking cases are so cool at the fairs. There's always really interesting things, and it's just kind of fun to see this many loaves of bread side by side, or like frosted cookies or anything else they're displaying. It's all really, really cool, and again, things that you wouldn't necessarily get to see displayed and celebrated anywhere outside of a state fair. From here, we were headed to the Sky Trams, and it was starting to feel a little bit stormy. Unfortunately, by the time we got to where the Sky Trams would let you on, they were not operating due to the stormy weather, so we decided to start our exit from the state fair because it was clearly going to get really stormy really fast. I got cheese on a stick before we exited, and we're just trying to exit quickly. It has not started to rain yet. And what you're about to see here, I got the moment that it started to pour. Sorry, the footage is so bad, but it started to just pour. And there were a lot of dangerous traffic decisions being made. This was a whole experience. But we did make it to the car and it was all fine, but it was absolutely disgusting out at this point. The next day, I wanted to check out S.R. Harris, which is a fabric store I have heard a lot about. I've seen a lot of it on TikTok, and I was ready to check it out. It's supposed to be pretty good price, and it was absolutely huge. I have not seen a fabric store this big. I don't want to say ever. I've been in some really big fabric stores. This is definitely one of the biggest that I've been in. As you can see, there's just kind of never-ending aisles and aisles and aisles of fabric, and the prices were overall pretty good. I was trying to stick to what I was looking for here, which was I was looking for some lawns, some specific types of lawns, and a specific type of denim, and I was trying to stick to that and not get anything else. The coatings were absolutely calling to me, but I have so many coats I need to make, and I am not allowed to buy more wool until all those coats are made. So even though it was very tempting, I did not buy anything in this section, and I'm very proud of myself. There were also tons and tons of buttons and other notions in this store, which I don't know why I wasn't expecting it, but I definitely wasn't expecting that. There were also quilt kits, and just pretty much anything any sewist would or could want. Linings, things like that. I definitely wish we had something like this in Seattle. However, I do have a lead on a new fabric store in Seattle that I'm going to check out, that I'm excited for, that seems like it is closer to a place like this than the other places in Seattle. I had to really talk myself out of sorting through all of these bins of lace scraps. There was what looked like some really interesting things here, but I said, Haley, you don't know what you would even do with any of these. Same with just all the laces in general. I am not really allowed to buy trim right now, but I was very, very tempted in this moment. Later that day, we went thrifting, and here's some things I found. I found this beautiful silk blouse by Ralph Lauren, but I couldn't figure out how I would wear it, and I didn't love the fit. If I was at home when I found this, I would have been very, very tempted, but I'm not putting that in a suitcase, so I left it, obviously. But I was intrigued. I tried to get it to work, and it didn't seem great. My friends grabbed this vintage Betsy Johnson for me, but it was too small, and I'm really not allowed to buy dresses like this right now anyway, but it was really, really cute. And we ate at Oro by Nixta for dinner, and this was excellent. If you can make it to this place when you're in Minnesota, 10 out of 10 recommend. It was absolutely delicious. For our next part of the trip, we were headed out to my friend's family's cabin, which was out of the city and on a lake. When we arrived, it was pretty windy, but we decided to head out on the boat anyway. They are on the shallow side of the lake, so we had to wade out to get into the boat. As you can see, it's decently windy out, and I guess foreshadowing alert, we had no business taking the boat out at this point in time, but we jetted around the lake anyway, trying to find a place to anchor that was sheltered. We couldn't find anything really though, so we ended up heading back to the cabin. And it is very, very beautiful out. However, by the time we arrived back at the cabin, it was so windy that it took us 45 minutes to get the boat in the dock. And to do it, we had to put 3 people in the water to like tow in the boat. It was super not ideal, but it really outlines the importance of making sure you travel with people that can handle stressful situations while still being respectful to each other, because while this was a really frustrating and challenging thing, we were able to work together and get the boat in without anyone being disrespected. But I've definitely been in traveling situations where things can get really personal when it gets high stress. So I always like to underline the importance of traveling with people who can be adults and like actually like work through problems. But we did make it through that stressful situation, and for sunset we just sat out on the dock and watched the sunset. It was absolutely beautiful. And
You look really good. I feel really good.
You should feel really good. You look great. Here's my friend in a mosquito hat. This mosquito hat was absolutely brilliant, and I think I will be making something like it at some point because it's really nice to not worry about bugs biting your face. Here am I getting to try the mosquito hat. I was so excited. I'm, very chic, very cute, very vintage. I do like to note, I don't always dress vintage. When you're places like this and it's more practical to dress the way I'm dressed this moment, this is often what I'm wearing because I'm just lounging. But yeah, we just enjoyed watching the sunset, and it's so pretty here. Next, we did a little walk at Paul Theed Fire Tower Park, which was at a nearby lake to the cabin. For this walk, we wanted to go up the fire tower that was part of the park. Most fire towers that I've been to are in mountains, so it was pretty jarring to see how many thin flights of stairs you had to go up to get to the top of this one. But we went up it anyway, even though it was a little bit intimidating, and all 5 of us made it to the top, which, given that I think a few of us are a little heights bothered, deciding that we could do that, it seemed like the group who had just come down had a lot harder of a time going up. So this is something if you're really afraid of heights, I probably wouldn't recommend. But we definitely enjoyed our little jaunt to the top. And it's just like a little room up here. The view is absolutely stunning. It is supposed to be really pretty here during fall when all the colors have changed, which I can definitely see. And then after that, we headed back down to the bottom. I have to say going down was worse than going up for me. But overall, after watching other people do it, I was really scared. But once I did it, it wasn't too bad. It's comparable for me to doing something like climbing a lighthouse. After that, we did as big of a loop as we could in this park trail-wise. The trails here are really wide and graveled, and there's stairs, so I would rate this really high in accessibility. I don't think it's quite wheelchair level accessibility, but it's pretty flat and pretty doable compared to most trails I've been on. And we saw so many different types of mushrooms. There are mushrooms everywhere.
This is your
For the chat,
mushroom.
check it out for the chat. Here, I'll break another piece, and then we go. Oh, look it. Underneath is blue because when you break it,
Hold up, I'm focusing
Got
badly. Okay, now we're good.
and now we wait.
at
And you can
that.
time
The
lapse it.
veins of the mushroom.
That's so cool.
Whoa,
You can see underneath
I see
too.
it.
Yeah.
That's
Just
crazy.
gonna keep going and going. It's very indigo
And look.
color.
Cat. We have a blue mushroom.
It changes color. So when you break this one, it turns blue.
That's sick. It looks like blue cheese.
Do you know what that is? Do you remember?
This is a type of bolete,
Okay.
I believe, and when you break it, it turns blue.
I used to hike a lot more when I was younger, and this made me realize how I do actually miss that. I feel a lot better when I go out in nature and spend time with friends. And it's just a practice that I've lost in the since I became a professional or an adult or whatever you want to call it. I was really good about hiking in college, but I just kind of stopped recently. So I would like to hike more, because it's really fun to see all the different little small things in nature that you might not observe otherwise. So it was a really lovely day. After that, we took the pontoon boat out, and I forgot to take any footage, so here's us leaving our friend with a giant dock thing. I don't even know how to describe what this is. We just sat for a while and I read in the pontoon, nothing exciting, and I didn't take any footage. And after we got back from the pontoon, lake shenanigans and having fun began.
Hey, what's up, MTV? This is my vlog. We got Haylee Marie Vintage in the background. We got Casserole, makes great casseroles. And over there, we have some other bitches that you can't see.
Yup.
Welcome to our vlog. We've been stranded on this boat for 45 days.
Yup.
We have nothing to eat. We have no water.
We got water.
And we found some marooned people on this island over there. Can you see them? We're gonna go rescue them because that's just who we are. Okay, that's our values. They could be sirens. We're not sure. We'll report back. If you don't hear from us, we died. Thank you. Amen. How do I stop this?
I've also put my GoPro in the water for a first time, which I know that is something your GoPro is supposed to do, but it was weird to fully submerge a camera and very counter to my instincts. We then got ready to go out for a sunset speedboat and tubing tour. The water is just like eerily still. It was really cool. This is Big Mabel. That's the name of the inner tube, not my friend on the inner tube. But yeah, we're getting ready to go out, and yeah, it's truly so pretty. Honestly, wading to the boat is kind of fun. I was not that into it on principle, but once we started to do it more, I thought it was actually great because I'm kind of weird about getting in water, and it was a good way for me to just like get in the water and have a reason to do so. But we made it to the boat, and so we're gonna get Big Mabel hooked up and ready to go. One day I'll learn how to properly strap a GoPro to my head, but today is not that day, so you will see minimal of the actual footage that I wanted you to see of this tour. But we just toured around in the tube for the sunset. We did see loons multiple times, which was very exciting. Can't go to Minnesota and not see the state bird after all. Here you can see we're going a little bit faster, and I am getting absolutely splashed. There's so much water in my eyes. I feel like I need to wear goggles to tube, which is something I don't remember from my childhood. Also, as you can see, there's like hand signals you use while you tube, because obviously you can't communicate verbally. So we had them lower the speed. However, at one point, we had them slow down too much and the tube started to go underwater, so we had to abandon ship. There's Big Mabel floating in the difference in the boat. But we were wearing life jackets and safety and all that good stuff, so it was fine. I didn't plan on going for a swim, but the water was actually warmer than the air, so it wasn't too bad. We did end up going for a second round, this time knowing that we needed to keep a certain speed to not have the tube go under. I do really enjoy lake shenanigans. It's always a good time. And we basically sat out and tubed until we realized we needed to get back before it got too dark. We didn't want to do any night boating. That's it pretty much for cabin footage. The next morning, I just wanted to show you some cute little things around the cabin, including this native wildflower patch. Overall, being at the lake like this is really fun, but I am also ready to get back to the city and get back home. And the next day after we got back from the cabin, we took off for home. I had a great time in Minnesota and hope to visit again, hopefully vaguely soon. All right, now that you've seen the footage, I'm gonna take you through the haul of my thrifting stuff, as well as the fabrics, before then giving you just my final thoughts on visiting Minnesota. For thrifting, I found not a lot of great things. Actually, the thrifting was a little sparse, but that's just true more now. Just with the rise of fast fashion, that ends up being what's in thrift stores more and more. So it becomes harder and harder to really find gems and things that I know I'll use. With that in mind, I actually had a pretty limited success in the thrift store, but that's okay because I also don't need more clothes. So first thing I grabbed is they're called Easter trimmings. They're pastel light bulb garlands. So these are like, they're miniatures essentially. They're super cute. I have been debating getting these, so finding them at the thrift store was perfect. And I have 5 packs here and I only paid, I think, like $4 for them. So not too shabby. Pretty happy with that. And then for another crafting supply, I guess there's nothing that exciting to it. So kind of just looks like a black void. But this is just a small amount of black faux fur. So I am working on a coat project soon that I wanted a tiny bit of faux fur to accentuate stuff with, and I was not going to go out and buy faux fur because I personally do not purchase faux fur or real fur unless it's vintage. But I don't use faux fur in my sewing, and I try to not purchase faux fur because it's plastic. It's all plastic and it's microplastic, and even just this actually feels pretty stable and like the fur is not going to fall out, but some of those like fake furs that like shed more, they just bring a lot of microplastics into your local environments from you just walking down the street. So I personally try to avoid most faux furs. I won't buy it brand new, but since this was at the thrift store, I will use it, and I'm excited to have it, but this is absolutely not something I would purchase new. This is only something I would ever pick up at the thrift store, and we'll see how this first project goes. I also suspect I won't super enjoy working with faux fur. I just really want the look. So I was happy that it was there and that I could pick it up, but definitely I generally don't advocate for using or wearing or having faux fur for just, yeah, lots of different environmental reasons as well as my own health. When I do use this, I will be vacuuming a ton to try to keep myself from inhaling these microplastics. But yes, I am excited about it despite that weird little side rant, I guess. Next up, everything I have is clothes. I was really picky in the clothes I picked up, which I have become just incredibly picky when buying new clothes in general, or I guess in this case used new clothes. We went to like a really cute vintage shop that I talked myself out of everything there, and then we went to a couple thrift shops, and one of the things I picked up, it's this really nice thick pair of silk pants. It's technically a little loose on me, however I also think the elastic's a little stretched out, so I'm gonna beef up the elastic and see how they do, but they're really cute. I like the color. I think they'll be really useful in my wardrobe. I'm pretty happy with them. Oh, I guess I also need to hem them, but other than that, they're really cute, and I'm glad I picked them up. Everything that I picked up is pretty much like higher end natural fibers, and I think all of these items were $9 each, or maybe 10. Next up is this guy. This is a cute little, like, it's a merino wool shawl sweater, or I guess it's not a shawl, it is just like a cardigan. So this is a bit of an experimental piece for me. I really try to be very intentional about what I pick up. I actually thought this was really interesting because it's so cropped. There's a lot of times where I am warm enough like through my core and through my legs, but I just need a little bit more something on my arms, and I don't necessarily want to wear a full coat, and most of my shorter coats don't fit anymore, and I like that this is a knit and stretchy and comfortable. So I am going to experiment it with this winter and this fall on seeing how I like just having something that's a little bit shorter and more out of the way. The like risk to me for this is that it's going to make me feel like it's too much of a statement up here. So I'll be curious to see if this is something I can actually incorporate into my wardrobe. But I did buy it knowing that this was a tester piece for me. And the last piece is a very core type of piece for me. This is the type of piece that I pick up a lot. I don't really enjoy making straight skirts just because they're pretty accessible in thrift stores, and if I'm gonna put in the effort to make a skirt, I usually go for a pretty big flare. Not that you can't find those at thrift stores, but they're just much more challenging style of a skirt to find. So I did purchase this really nice straight skirt. It has just really nice texture to the, I guess probably what, tweed? I think though it is all polyester. I could be wrong, which I'm not opposed to buying polyester secondhand. In fact, for the environment's sake, we all need to be buying polyester secondhand, but I suspect this has no natural fibers in it. However, it's really cute, it's really comfortable, and I suspect it will be a good basic piece for me to pair some of my other blouses with because it has all the different colors running through it that are just kind of pastel and cute. But that's it for thrifting. Now for the fabric store, I have to gather all my random nonsense. First thing I bought that didn't even work for the project I bought it for is I'm still on the quest for the perfect color of denim to make a fringe denim jacket that I have had stuck in my brain for a while. It was still not the right blue because I of course forgot to bring a swatch of the material that I was trying to match with me. As a result, I'll not use that for that project. However, it's still a really nice dark blue and like kind of more vibrant blue denim. So I will still definitely use it in like a skirt or something, maybe like a little gunny sack skirt or something like that. I think that'd be cute. So I'll definitely still use it, but it was not exactly what I needed. But some things that I did actually need, I'll likely have to put like a little swatchy guide to the side of me. But this is a lawn that is, there's a term for this that is leaving my brain right now, but it's a woven stripe. So it is a stripe that is actually woven into the fabric. Fabric's a little bit sheer. I bought this with the intention of, I have a black gunny sacks using black lawn and then some really bright pink and black trim that I've bought. I have that gunny sacks like envisioned in my mind, and I was just looking for the perfect fabric to execute it with. So I picked up this fabric and all of these fabrics that I'm showing you. So the denim was $6.50 a yard. This is $7 a yard, and I picked up 5 yards of it for my gunny sack because I think I'm gonna go strapless with it. But I'm really excited about this because this was something that I've been actively looking for to go with it. I did feel like I'm gonna need 2 layers and I don't need both layers to have the stripes, so I did buy 5 yards of just plain lawn. This was also $7, or I guess technically $7.50 a yard. Other things I got, it's a clear theme. This is another one of those stripe woven lawns. I've been looking for these online and I'm sure I'm just not using the right terms to find them, but I think they're really pretty quality. I think they make really elegant, nice looking blouses that are super comfortable. So I've been searching for them and trying to pick some up. So I found this hot pink one. I also got one that is like, they're really tiny stripes on white. I got 3 yards of this to make a blouse out of. And then the last one, I got, I think 5 yards of this, or I think I got 4.5 yards of this, which this is like a bigger stripe weave. And I got this to likely cut in half and dye them different colors because I really enjoy this type of fabric, but it's hard to find it in a lot of colors. So I think for the colors that I want, I'm gonna just need to dye it myself, which is exciting and fun. But yeah, clear theme on the cotton. I was so excited because I went into their lawn section and they just had bolts and bolts and bolts of this stuff in a bunch of different colors and a bunch of different weaves. So I just kind of like grabbed it all out and then narrowed down which colors I thought I would actually use. So that's all that I picked up in the fabric store. Highly recommend that fabric store. If you're ever in the St. Paul or Minneapolis area, there's 2 locations. I don't know how the other location is. I think I went to the one in Brooklyn Park, but their prices were excellent and their selection was excellent, especially for like normal everyday fabric. They did have like fancy fabrics that I looked through, and I didn't think their fancy fabric selection was like quite my cup of tea. I definitely prefer what's available in New York, but I felt like as far as like lawns and coatings and kind of just, yeah, more practical everyday wear fabrics, they had a lot of really fantastic options there. But that is everything I picked up, and for my final thoughts on this trip, I had so much fun. I would really like to go back to Minneapolis and spend more time kind of around the city doing things. It sounds wild, but I would definitely like to go back to the state fair. I had a lot of fun at the state fair, and I was a little bummed that it closed earlier. We had to leave early because of the thunderstorm. I could have definitely spent several more hours there. And yeah, I feel like I missed out on some of what the city had to offer, but it was really nice to go to the lake and chill for a long time. What's actually really interesting, and a question I get from you guys frequently for people who watch me and know that I suffer from chronic pain, a lot of you guys ask me how I like go in my vacations with my chronic pain. And what's actually really fascinating and something I learned on this one as I'm trying to recover from back, shoulder, neck injuries that I've been plagued with the past few months is, while this was really fun because it was a relaxing vacation, it actually triggered my chronic pain significantly worse than a really busy vacation. And from talking to my physical therapist, it sounds like my things become more and more painful and more high risk the more I'm sitting around and not moving a ton. So like I read 4 books at the lake house when we were there for 3.5 days. I'll if I remember to, I'll link the series down below. It's not anything spectacular, but it was just what I was in the mood for. And I'm a pretty hardcore reader where I will read for hours and hours and hours and not move. And it's interesting because that triggered my chronic pain quite a bit. I was in a lot of pain after this trip, as opposed to when I do trips where I'm like go. I'm moving so much, and moving actually, interestingly enough, combats the chronic pain and the fatigue I get. So I actually like suffer more from chronic pain when I'm having a chill vacation than when I'm having a busy vacation. So definitely next chill vacation I take, I'm gonna try to have a few more strategies on how to like be moving my body responsibly. I was a little shocked when I came back from vacation and was having a pretty big flare up. So it was good to kind of talk through with my physical therapist what likely caused that. And yeah, it is really interesting because yeah, I've had so many of you guys ask me about how I deal with my chronic pain when I travel, and I don't usually experience chronic pain when I travel outside of the airplane. So it's interesting to, I guess, learn why. But yeah, I think that wraps up this video. I am, like I said, hoping to be in Minneapolis again in the near-ish future. And by near-ish, I mean, hopefully like in the next 4 or 5 years from now. I have so many things on my list, I can't really justify it repeats right in this moment. But I had such a fun time, and I feel like there's still so much to see. It's definitely high on my needing to revisit in the US list. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. So you could give it a thumbs up or comment down below. That always really helps me out in the algorithm. And then definitely subscribe and stick around. I upload every single Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And next week I will be back with my normal sewing project. So I will see you then. Bye!